Hello and welcome to Lesson 8. In this lesson, I will discuss manufacture anger, what is involved, and the effect that can arise in the body. I will discuss an anger cheat that was done to me and how I was able to overcome it, and to my surprise, might I add. I will refer to this incident later in my discussion of esophageal cancer in another lesson. First, an anger issue is created. The anger issue created is only small and it is only used as a trigger. One day, some neighbours called to me wanting something. So I went down to see what they wanted, and they said that they were cutting some trees and wanted some water for the chipper. What? I thought, water for the chipper? I never heard of water needed to chip wood, but I thought, why bother arguing with them? I pointed to my tap and told them they could have some water, but not to take a lot. Then the woman pipes up and says they only wanted a little bit of water, and the two men started laughing. And in asking for the little bit of water, she held up her index finger and her thumb just about a millimetre apart. They seemed to be talking nonsense, so I just walked away. I told them they couldn't go down my driveway to the other tap and walked away. Within a day or two, I started feeling hot and angry, very angry. And there were all these ideas that kept coming to mind. And not long after I started to feel sick, I had a fever, sweating, sore throat, and generally felt unwell. And I was sick enough to go to bed. I thought that I had the flu. Even after 2 or 3 weeks went by and I was sick in bed, I was still angry. Then one day, after I made myself some coffee and I took a sip, I looked out of my window and there I saw two men trampling around my front yard, doing damage to some of my plants and seedlings. Suddenly my anger rose to the hilt. I put some clothes on and threw my dressing gown over me again and headed for the door. Feeling very angry now, I stormed outside to confront them about what they were doing. One of them ran away as soon as he saw me. I confronted the other guy, but he claimed he didn't know what I was talking about. Then the overseer of the tree cutting work arrived, wanting to know what was wrong. I started to tell him that he couldn't have his workers coming onto my property just as they wanted. And then I saw a backhoe carrying a tree trunk coming onto my land and onto the road. You haven't asked for my permission to come onto my land, I told him. He stared at me and finally, seemingly reluctantly, asked me for my permission to bring the logs over my land so that they could bring them to the road. Then I thought they can't violate if they have permission. So I gave my permission and the matter was settled. I could hardly believe it. I was walking back down my driveway with my dressing gown over my arm, feeling good, not sick at all. From angry and very sick to calm and well in just 15 minutes. Wow! And as I sat by my window drinking my coffee, I thought, how come? I've never gotten over the flu in just 15 minutes and after an argument. Then it dawned on me, a cheat was used. I grabbed some paper and I started to figure out what must have happened. I made 2 columns, symptoms and reason for the symptoms. I realized that feeling hot and lots of energy This was a concealed threat, and I did not recognize the feeling of fear. Now, I felt angry. A trivial issue of being cheated was being presented to me, and I felt angry. But the high energy was really fear. The idea and the high energy made me feel angry. So the feeling hot and what appeared to be a fever was really the high energy of fear exacerbated by anger. Then, when I started to worry to figure out what it was all about, my body moved to resting metabolism, detected the heat, and triggered the sweating mechanism in my brain. I also realized that the sore throat was from ideas I had of damage across the front of it. The ideas caused an inflammatory response, which is really what the sore throat was about. I strongly suspect that they used images of my front yard and referred to them as my throat being damaged. Once they couldn't cheat me by violating my property anymore, once the issue was gone, the anger was gone. Alternatively, I could have rejected the idea, knowing it was only a setup. Getting no reaction, they would have been the losers. This was early days when I was learning about the cheats, and it taught me a lot. It was a good awakening. It made me realize how important it is to know about the cheats, because you can protect yourself from harm and avoid disease.